So Deuteronomy 21, all new stuff. Deuteronomy 22, oh, wait till we get to that one. We may get to some of it today, but I don't know because there's so much in chapter 21 that's new to us.
I just glanced in there.
Yeah, a lot of new stuff. Isn't it nice? We're not learning about sacrifices and priests. So let's look at verse 1.
If a slain person is found lying in the open country in the land which the Lord your God gives you to possess, and it is not known who has struck him.
Stop in the middle of the sentence. I know that drives people crazy, but so this is not about someone that's been murdered. It's someone that died from some kind of natural cause, and you just find them out in the field. What do you do with it? You don't know what killed him. You don't know who killed him. You don't know the cause. They don't have CSI Israel at that point. So everything's unknown. But God is so concerned about blood and the land. And so you have this dead body. You know, it's unclean to touch the dead body and things like that. So you have to do something to cleanse the land. But who's responsible for it? And even though maybe no one knows who the victim is, God does. But if the victim is known, there is a kinsman redeemer, a Goel, who is supposed to avenge him. Well, who does he go after? Gotta figure all that stuff out. Numbers 35, 33 through 34 says that the blood of an unsolved, unavenged murder or any kind of death defiles and pollutes the land. So this is about the need to clean up that pollution, to restore the relationship with God and that piece of land. So a fancy word here, hi, come on in, Betty, is the word expiation. That just means to make atonement for. So if you ever hear high church people talking about expiation, it's just cleansing and making atonement. God still cares about people. We have this thing that's going on called granny dumping. Granny dumping. It's something that's happening today. It's the practice of abandoning elderly people where they are likely to, someone's likely to notice them, so they'll be taken care of. Yeah, your family doesn't want to take care of you, so they dump you somewhere.
Wow, that's...
A lot of times they're left at hospitals or clinics, just dumped.
What?
Yeah. So God doesn't want that either. And well, hi, Mary.
Hi.
Mary, this is everybody. Everybody, this is Mary. You know several people. Several years ago, there was an 82-year-old man.
Suck it up, Mary.
Yeah.
I'm not that skinny anymore.
So there was that's probably
teach me to get here earlier.
That's probably, yeah.
I got a telephone call about my brother.
Okay, so there was this 82-year-old guy that his daughter dumped him off at a racetrack, and the story made the newspapers. And there was a brief outcry because everyone thought it was just so cruel. However, one past president of the American College of Emergency Physicians estimates that there's about 200,000 elderly people that are abandoned at hospitals each year.
No. I can't believe that.
Americans are showing they don't care for their elderly. And that is a shame. especially because so many of us fit in that category.
Can you? I can't imagine.
But to have a lot of kids around that time.
Yeah, so that is not what God wants. God wants people to be cared for. So in this case, we've got someone that is dead. Don't know why. God cares for that person. He wants it to be taken care of.
Yeah.
So verses 2 through 7 is going to give us some information on what to do. And Olga, that's you.
Your elders and judges shall go out
Any blanks?
and measure the distance
Mary.
from the body to the neighboring towns. Then the elders of the town nearest to the body shall take a head curtain that has never been worn and has never worn a yoke, and lead it to the valley that has not been plowed or planted, and where there is a
Yeah, why don't you give her the pen and let her write? Okay.
there in the valley they are too great to have a snake. The Leviticus priest shall step forward, for the Lord your God has chosen them to minister and to pronounce blessings in the name of the Lord, and to decide all cases of dispute and assault. Then all the elders of the town nearest to the body shall wash their hands over the heifer whose neck has broken in the valley, and they shall declare, our hands did not shed his blood, nor did our eyes see it done.
Okay, so first thing, you got this body in a field. You got to figure out what city is responsible for taking care of what needs to be taken care of.
So the first person who comes along and sees it has to do all this? Or
They have to report it somewhere, but then
The elders and judges say.
well, they have to figure out what city's responsible. What is the closest city? And at times, if it was really close, they'd get measuring things out, figure out what city was responsible. Yeah, most of the time it was pretty easy to tell what city would be responsible. Something interesting, the Hittites, who are a group of the Canaanites, if they found a body out in the field, the person's heir was entitled to some property in the nearest city that they found the body. But not the Hebrews. That's not what that's about. Okay, so they figure out what city, and the elders of that city have to make atonement. It's not really a sacrifice that they're going to do, but they have to make atonement. They have to cleanse the polluted land. Last week the question came up about whether it was priests or just local elders that were at the gate. This answers the question. It's elders at the gate. And the word for elders here is zakan. They represent the people. And it's Z-A-Q-E-N. And that word is translated also beard. So they expected the elders to be elderly. Old guys with wisdom. They were responsible for the proper conduct of the city and the families and maintaining the standards. So they had to be wise. So they take a heifer that has never been used, never plowed a field, never worked, and they take it for the judges to wring its neck. They take it to the Levitical priest to do this action. So they take this heifer, who's a young heifer, because if he had any age, he would have been used. So it's got to be like a calf. And they take him down into a valley that has never been plowed. It doesn't have to be the valley where they found the guy. So it's a valley that's never been plowed, and it has fresh water running through it. It has to be, all of this symbolizes purity. So they have to get all these pure things together, and then they wring the heifer's neck. And that could be one of the reasons why it's a young thing, because by the time you start using a heifer for anything, they develop neck muscles. It would be really hard to wring their neck.
Yeah.
Who does that though, Roger?
The Levitical priests do the wringing of the neck.
So if they're, they must have some strength then.
Well, the Levitical priests are, they're not the high priests. They're the whole family of Levi. So there's young ones and old ones, and there'd be plenty of young'uns strong enough to take care of this. John MacArthur says the reason they took them to a valley was because the Canaanites did everything to their gods on high hills. So MacArthur says they're going to a valley to be different than the Canaanites. By the way, did they tell you where we're at in the Bible?
Deuteronomy?
Yeah.
I got it.
Okay. The water symbolizes carrying away the guilt. And so these Levitical priests do this, and everybody marches down. The whole city marches down to witness this whole thing and witness the cleansing of this guy that they may not even know, but is dead in the field. And it was important that the heifer's blood not be spilled, which is why it's not the typical kind of sacrifice. Normally sacrifices are really
Bloody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no blood here, which may be one of the reasons why the Levites are able to do it, because the other sacrifices is the high priest's families. Yeah, just the high priest. So breaking the heifer's neck symbolized that whatever crime was done against this dead person, it deserved capital punishment. But they don't have anyone to punish. So they still have to cleanse everything. And then after that, the elders washed their hands, saying, we have done everything we could to settle this case, to find out what happened here. We are clear from all guilt. Sound like someone else familiar? Pontius Pilate.
I wash my hands.
Wash it.
Yeah.
So washing your hands symbolized,
You're done.
I'm done, I'm not responsible for that. Wasn't so true of Pontius Pilate, but here it is true. Of course, it didn't mean anything if they really didn't do everything they could to find out what happened. It'd be as significant as Pontius Pilate's was. You still have guilt. So they really were responsible for trying to find out what happened. Verse 7, where it talks about, our hands did not shed this blood, nor did our eyes see it shed. So the Midrash, which is an extra book that the rabbis wrote to explain things, they say this relates to helping a stranger or a poor person or a widow. If you don't see it, you're not responsible for helping, which is not what that means at all. It means if you don't see it, you're not responsible.
It's like the monkeys hear no evil, see no evil.
Yeah, and God's not saying that, but the rabbis added that in to say that's what it meant. No. Now, some Jewish commentaries say that land where they killed the heifer was never to be tilled again. But we don't see that in Scripture. It's not there. And it kind of seems to defeat the purpose of this whole thing was to restore a relationship between the land and God. So the land would be useful again. It's an atonement. So they do all this, and then verse 8 and 9 is a prayer. Mary, are you comfortable reading? Oh,
Mary?
Mary?
Mary.
I'm sorry. Are you comfortable reading out loud? Okay. Verse 8 and 9.
8 and 9. Okay. Accept this atonement for your people Israel, whom you have redeemed, O Lord, and do not hold your people guilty of the blood of an innocent man, and the bloodshed will be atoned for.
And sorry, verse 9 too. Verse 9.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
When you go to war against your enemies, and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands, and you take captives. Keep going.
9.
That didn't.
10.
Oh, I'm sorry. Verse 9.
9.
Yeah.
When you go, so you will purge from yourself the guilt of shedding innocent blood, since you have done what is right in the eyes of the Lord.
So hard.
Okay.
The verses when it's in the paragraph.
Yeah. Okay. So a prayer, obviously. And who's this prayer for? I mean, it's to God, but
For the people of Israel.
yeah, not just the people of that nearby city. It's for the whole nation. When a city is defiled in Israel, the whole nation's defiled. The whole nation was held responsible for this, for whatever happened, and to atone. The city itself took care of the action. And notice it says, Israel, whom you have redeemed. That redemption had already taken place. That redemption happened when God brought them out of Egypt. They were redeemed. This is the action to restore the relationship. It's the same with us. God has already redeemed us through the blood of Jesus Christ. If we get in a position where we're not in a right relationship with God, we're still redeemed. We just need to restore that relationship. So we see the basis of forgiveness here. It's not because the people are so wonderful and doing all the right things, or it's not based on anything they've done. God redeemed them. It's an act of grace. When verse 8 talks about the blood guilt, remember there was no blood from the heifer. It's the blood of the unknown criminal that caused this action. His blood had to be redeemed. So if they did everything right in the ceremony, then God took away their guilt. This atonement took a blood sacrifice, not of the heifer though.
So whose guilt did it take away?
The guilt of the people, because the guilt of the land, that the body was on this land, and that defiled the land. So it took the guilt away off the land.
Oh,
And
so
this
it could be used?
So this was all because one man was found.
His body's
that
found.
For sure wasn't natural causes.
Yeah,
It
for
said
sure was
murder.
not. Yeah, and I think I said that backwards in the beginning. It is a murder of some kind. It's not a natural cause.
Yeah.
But blood was shed on their land. They had to redeem the land. Because remember how, God didn't even want you touching dead bodies, or you were unclean for a period of time. You had to go through a process.
So what happened to the man when they found him?
They haven't found him. They don't know.
They
Oh,
don't know.
the
Oh,
body?
they only had the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, the body they would bury, and whoever touched that body would be unclean for 7 days and have to go through all that.
You know, in the midst of trying to conquer a nation, they still, I mean, this is a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah.
It is.
And I'm pretty sure they found a lot of people, dead people along the road.
Cold cases.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They need to get a CSI Israel.
Interesting. That land, did he have family? Did they search for people?
This is, and that's why when they say they're washing their hands, because they've done everything they could to get it settled. And it's not.
That's why my daughter said, whenever you walk, take your telephone.
Yeah. Yeah. Have a good GPS. Yeah.
Well, God's forming a nation here too.
Yeah.
He's not just leading them into a promised land. He's shaping a nation. So, I mean, they needed a lot of help. They need all the details to know how to.
Yeah,
Because
'cause
that
it-
is what they would do when they got the land. Would they still be doing all this sacrificing and?
Yeah. They're going to set up the tabernacle at where God tells them, and they're going to do the sacrifices and everything there. In fact, they haven't been doing all the sacrifices and stuff while they've been traveling. But once they set up, everything goes into
So
effect.
this is really for them to obey.
It is.
And responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like Jana said, they're building a nation. They have come from no nation of their own at all.
Slaves.
They're setting up a whole government. And
Oh, yeah.
so that's why we've had all these laws over. It's a, can you imagine? I mean, even in the United States, we base it off of England. Well, they are basing it off of
And
all
it
new.
was just those few years with the Revolutionary War before our nation. Here, that's been 40 years. They've been
Yeah.
Around.
wandering around, and God's been telling them do this and this, and
Right.
Yeah.
and shaping it.
Yep.
They were very dissatisfied people too, after he brought them to the Red Sea, you know.
Yeah.
And the blood was really to set, is for them to understand eventually what Jesus was going to do.
Yeah. So much of what's happening is symbolism for what Jesus is going to do in the New Testament. Now, they, of course, didn't have that picture.
Right.
But we can look back and we can see
Yeah.
how God was setting it all up. So, okay, so now another subject, and this one kind of sounds like a horrible Hallmark movie. In a way. Okay, this is verses 10 through 14. Betty, it's
Okay. When you go out to battle against your enemies, and the Lord your God delivers them into your hands, and you take them away captive, and see among the captives a beautiful woman, and have a desire for her, and would take her as a wife for yourself, then you shall bring her home to your house, and she shall shave her head and trim her nails. She shall also remove the clothes of her captivity, and shall remain in your house, and mourn for your father and mother a full month. And after that you may go into her and be her husband, and she shall be your wife.
and verse 14.
42. It shall be, if you are not pleased with her, then you shall let her go wherever she wishes. But you shall certainly not sell her for money. You shall not mistreat her, because you have humbled her.
Okay, so first off, this does not apply to Canaanite women. You remember what they're supposed to do with Canaanite women in war?
Kill them.
Kill them.
What?
Yeah. The Canaanites were the people the tribes that were inhabiting the promised land, and they were so horrible
Oh.
that God said, you just kill them. So this is non-Canaanite women when they have wars with people that are not Canaanites. So see this beautiful woman and say, I gotta have her.
You know, I just kind of stop me now. This is beautiful woman. Even now, our society
Yeah.
places so much on
Yeah.
beauty.
Yeah, and before you ask, the non-beautiful women became slaves. So
No.
yeah, they weren't killed. but they became slaves. And Israel was commanded to treat their slaves in a good way, not like.
Yeah.
But that's not right that you're punished because you don't look right.
That's our world.
Right, I know that was stupid to say.
Well,
but
Well, and this is all about the senses. If you look at the words used here, beautiful, desire, take. Joshua 7:21. When we get in there, beautiful, desire, take. Genesis 3:6 says, when the woman saw the tree was good for food and that it was a delight to the eyes and that the tree was desirable, then she took and ate from its fruit. So the lesson, look out for what you're looking at.
So I guess I'm not sure who else would be a captive, because the Hittites and all those were all Canaanites.
Yeah.
It says when you go to war in the future. When you go to war,
Oh, it's not
Yeah.
now.
against your enemies.
Yeah,
those-
when you
the
expand,
Philistines.
yeah, they're going to be spending a lot of time fighting the Canaanites.
Yeah.
So this isn't going to come into effect for a while. Canaanites, you just kill.
Okay, this is later.
One of our online people, even today, Jews still don't touch a dead body for about 30 minutes after death and open a window. They handle a body as little as possible. So, okay, so that's back to the other thing.
My note here says the law must apply to conquest of cities far away.
Yeah, far away, outside of the promised land.
Oh.
Yeah. And eventually they're going to have non-Canaanite groups moving in. The Philistines are not Canaanite, and they're going to move in eventually. So that can apply to them. And it wasn't uncommon for a man to take a woman from the captives. You can imagine that was, especially if she was beautiful. But this is God making sure there is no abuse here. He is making sure the women are taken care of. No raping. There was to be marriage.
And it was to allow her time to mourn her mother and father being taken away from them.
And you notice mother and father, not husband. So
She was a single.
it's not talking about widows, apparently.
I guess the old saying about beauty is in the eye of the beholder didn't apply back then.
Well, yeah, if she was beautiful to you, she might have been ugly to everybody else. Now, first thing you do is shave her head and really cut down her nails. Not just trim them. It said, Betty's version said trim. No, you cut those nails down.
What was that? Why?
Well, it would symbolize her giving up her old life as a member of whatever other group she belonged to. Now, we talked about it last week. One difference between Canaanite women and women from far away is Canaanite women would never want to become a Jew. So, just kill them. Where women from groups outside of the Promised Land, they'd convert to Judaism. So they became Jews. So their hair and their nails were considered, they way did their hair and nails. I mean, think of someone that has just gorgeous hair and nails just gorgeous. So they take that away. And she lives, and I mean, she'd grow her hair really long. So she's giving up her vanity.
Yeah.
Notice it doesn't say whether she has a choice in this matter at all at this point.
What a bummer.
It was better than being a slave, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you didn't get to choose the guy. I mean, he could be a
And she has to
70-year-old guy.
Off all the clothes that she brought, and they might have been beautiful, and
Yeah.
doesn't say what she puts on there, but
No, and it's assumed she put on Hebrew clothing.
it's just
She put something on. So women in the Middle East, they tinted their nails with a plant.
Henna.
Yeah, henna.
Yeah.
So we saw that it was common in India and in Egypt. In fact, they have found mummies with their nails tinted with henna. Yeah. So that's something that that was common. Now, obviously, I mean, have any of you tried like typing with really long fingernails? Or
Well, you can't.
yeah, obviously long fingernails kept you from being able to do a lot of labor. Yeah. So, and becoming an Israelite, she wasn't going to live a life of luxury.
Yeah.
She was going to be a working woman. So, but, I mean, shave her head.
That's what
That really affects your appearance.
Yeah.
So it talks about the hair being a crowning glory, and
Yeah, yeah. The Israelites considered a woman's hair to be a crown of glory too. In the Middle East today, when a Christian becomes a Muslim, she shaves her head and is carried through the city crying, "There is no God but the God of, and Muhammad is the prophet of God." So they still, a change in your faith, it seems your hair for a woman becomes an issue. She's changing her allegiance. She has to become like an Israelite. And she has to get rid of that hair. It'll grow. She's allowed to grow it back. But those 30 days, I mean, her can you imagine how she probably wouldn't look so attractive anymore?
No, but when it says, you go to her and you be her, are you saying that if she doesn't please you?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go
Yeah, I
off
mean,
the
after 30 days, he goes in and he's her husband, and they have relations, and
if she
it doesn't
please
say
him.
how she doesn't please him. It could be he can look at her and go, "Ew,
Now you're really ugly.
yeah, you're ugly."
That's mean.
Yeah,
Should burn the toast.
yeah, yeah. That they could divorce over those kind of things too. So they were considered married after the 30 days. And everything that goes with it, if you know what I mean. But then the potential husband, or the husband, could change his mind. How she doesn't please him, it doesn't say, but it didn't take anything. He just didn't please. And he decides not to go through with the wedding ceremony. They've been engaged, which they consider a marriage, but now they haven't slept together. So he says, "I don't want her." But he has to let her go with dignity, which is something different for the Israelites than it is for everyone else around them. Everyone else around them would just rape them and whatever. He had to divorce her. And then she was allowed to go wherever she wanted. He didn't come in and say, "Oh, I don't want her anymore," and she become a slave. No, she got to go. She could even go back to her old hometown.
Well,
That was probably destroyed. But the Israelites treated women in a whole different way. I mean, it's still, for many of us, it's still like horrible, but compared to the world around them, God made sure they were treated with dignity.
And then when Jesus came, he make.
Yeah.
yeah, right.
And it ends with saying, "Because you have humiliated her." It doesn't explain how you've humiliated her, but it could be because you're you're saying, I don't want this woman, and now she's
And you've had her shave
her
head
head's
and-
shaved,
Yeah.
and 30 days hair growth is not going to be much.
No.
And, yeah,
It's gonna be pretty obvious that she was rejected.
yeah, and so that's a humiliation for her. She is probably, what other man's going to want her? So it's a humiliation for her. So that's one reason she's allowed to go wherever she wants, start a new life. And this woman that maybe didn't want this marriage in the first place, it doesn't say. She gets her life back. And in the meantime, so in that way, maybe it was better to be the slave. Not be so pretty, and be the slave because you were treated humanely. You were supposed to be treated humanely as a slave. I can't testify that they treated everybody that was slaves really well, but they were supposed to treat them well. Okay, another subject, verses 15 to 17. And Amber, are you in the right place?
Yeah.
Because you just walked in at the right time.
Perfect. I love when I do that. If a man has two wives, the one loved and the other unloved, and both the loved and the unloved have borne him children, and if the firstborn son belongs to the unloved, then on the day that when he assigns his possessions as an inheritance to his sons, he may not treat the son of the loved as the firstborn in preference to the son of the unloved who is firstborn. But he shall acknowledge the firstborn, the son of the unloved, by giving him a double portion of all that he has, for he is the first fruits of his strength. The right of his firstborn is his.
Okay, so this is kind of interesting. Who in the Bible have we run into where it doesn't?
Jacob, Leah, and Rachel.
Yeah, we've run into a few times where the younger son was a preferred son, and God's saying no. He's saying it for now, though. The stuff in the past was the past, but from this point on, no more of that. In times of war, there would be a bigger shortage of men because they would die in battle. So to populate their nation, a lot of times they had two wives. Sounds like some other group that wants to grow their population, so two or more wives. But it was never God's desire for a man to have more than one wife. He wanted a relationship. It was to symbolize his relationship with man, a wife's relationship with a husband. But when you throw another wife in there.
Is this where the Mormons get this having more than one wife? Or?
It could be.
Yeah.
I would imagine so. But
And this just says if.
Yeah. It doesn't say God commands you to do it. God wouldn't command you to do this.
It just kind of become normal.
Yeah.
Later we see David and Solomon.
Yeah, it was very normal. And it causes so much strife. I mean, we've seen that in several of the patriarchs, how more than one woman causes. God meant one woman for the home. So God wants to protect the oldest child. And why does he want to protect him? Because that oldest child is the one that passes on the legacy for the family. He symbolizes God's firstborn son, symbolizes Jesus as God's firstborn son. Your firstborn son is an important symbol. It also, the Jews looked at it as that firstborn son proved that Dad was a man. He had a son, and he could carry on his ancestry. So that firstborn son was important. Now it talks about a double portion for the firstborn son. So you figured out how many sons there were. Say there's 3 sons. you're going to split your inheritance up into 4 pieces. Number 1 gets 2 of those, and the others get 1 piece. And it may seem like, well, why should he get that if he's so, what makes him so special? Well, there was responsibility with it too. He was responsible for caring for his parents through their life. Once they got to an age that they couldn't take care of themselves, it was his job to take care of them. So this allowed him the extra finances to care for his parents. So this is the only place in Scripture that talks about that double portion. We've seen it in practice, but this is the only place that it really spells it out. Okay, let's look at verses 18 through 21.
If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who does not obey his father or mother and doesn't listen to them even after they discipline him, his father and mother must take hold of him and bring him to the elders of his city, to the gate of his hometown. They will say to the elders of his city, "This son of ours is stubborn and rebellious. He doesn't obey us. He's a glutton and a drunkard." Then all of the men of the city will stone him to death. You must purge the evil from you, and all Israel will hear and be afraid.
Isn't that a wonderful verse? Yeah. Now, it's not talking about a young kid, a young teen. It's talking about someone who's old enough to be accountable. Because how many toddler boys would make it?
No.
Yeah.
Maybe not a teenager.
Yeah, maybe. Well, and their teenagers were not like our teenagers. This is a real deterrent to that kind of thing. Mom and Dad can take me out anytime. When it talks about the rebellion, it's an ongoing rebellion. It's not like a one-time you ticked me off thing. It's not. It's become a habit that they're rebellious. And it seems like it infers that the parents have done a good job trying to raise this child. They've called him to obedience. They've corrected him. He is just ornery.
He's just obeying the commandment, honor thy father and mother.
He definitely is. So God doesn't just say, "Oh, you can take your child." He commands you to take, well, not a child, not necessarily a child. It could be a 30-year-old guy. Your son. You can take your son. Daughters got away with it, I guess. But you can take your son. You have to take your son to the judges. And not a choice. Notice the mother's involved in this too. She has to be part of it. Could be because you need 2 witnesses. And there's your 2 witnesses. And insubordination against the mother is as bad as against the father. So the son is to be put on trial before the elders, and they are to decide whether this kid is a chronological problem, or not chronological, chronically chronologically chronicle. If he's chronically rebellious, and if so, stone him. It was important for the parents to bring this rebellious son to the elders. It took the decision out of their hands because, there's times, parents probably experienced it. You are just so mad at your child. You may say something like, "I'm ready to kill you." But it takes that emotion out of it to these men that are to judge fairly. And if this son is found to be rebellious, it affects the whole community. Look at how our culture has gone, where our children are more and more and more rebellious over the generations. They didn't have that problem.
No.
Because, again, you could be taken out. When it says, the parents say, "This, my child is a glutton and a drunkard," it seems that that's more like an example. Your child may not be a glutton and a drunkard. Maybe it's something else.
It's interesting that when they bring the child to elders, it doesn't say that they pray for him or give him a second chance. No.
Because this person, again, we don't know how old, it's a habitual thing. Over and over and over again. He's had his chance. His parents have been, doesn't mention praying for him at all.
No.
But it talks about them calling him to obedience and correcting him. So that's the chance he's had. They've said, you need to shape up. And he's not. And again, this is the nature of someone he's not a naughty child. These are adult offenses. And the parent has to state what those offenses are. And those offenses are against the city. It's kind of like today, when there is something in the members of our church, we're one spiritual body. When something is happening in one person's life, it can affect the whole church body. Now, not to take them out and throw stones at them, but we're to correct him by helping him go back on the right path.
We sure have gotten lax in our punishment for rebellious kids.
Yeah. And something that, now who's supposed to throw the first stone?
Somebody who's not done anything.
Now it says the men took the son out, but is it the father that's going to have to throw that first stone? Because he's the witness.
Well, the child must not, or the kid must not care very much. So maybe he's demon possessed or something.
I know.
Because he doesn't care. He knows.
I think if I were a son and I knew my mom and dad were taking me to the judge, I'd be running the other way.
Run away. The meaning of, I brought you into this world, I can take you out.
Yeah.
Well, that's a, yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't care because he knows.
No.
It's going to happen.
In Jesus' time, demons were thrown out.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you go back, it says he will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother. So it sounds like they've given him plenty of chances.
Plenty of opportunities.
They're at the end of their rope.
Yeah.
Right.
What more can they do?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't see anything in the Bible of this ever being done. That's a pretty good deterrent. But I was thinking the other night, it's also possible that it happens so often that they thought, why riot about it? It's like a common day, everyday thing. But we don't see it. So maybe it was a really good deterrent.
Some more instructions that the Lord gave.
If this happens,
because
take care of it.
Because the inheritance of the firstborn and this one, both they start, and if.
Yeah.
So it's not saying.
Well, I think that happened before this, because I just think about Ham and Noah. Is it Ham? That
he cursed them.
And the children that did things against their fathers, and the two wives with the firstborn that wasn't with the wife, I guess.
Yeah.
So maybe it did really happen.
Yeah, it could have.
Before.
Yeah. Okay, so we will finish up this chapter today. Yay. And then next week is a wild one. Okay, verse 22 and 23.
If a man has committed a sin deserving of death, and he is put to death, and you hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain overnight on the tree. I'm sorry. But you shall surely bury him that day, so that you do not defile the land which the Lord your God, is giving to you as an inheritance. For he who is hanged is accursed of God.
Okay, I was wondering if that was going to be in there. It's in different order than my version. Okay, so hang on a tree. If you look back at it, what order do you see? Well, first he dies. Then you hang him on a tree. So it's not you hang him on a tree to die. It's not like a lynching.
Yeah.
So it's to see. It's for others to see it.
That was the most shameful thing for a Jew, is to have your body exposed on a tree or any other prominent place. That was the most disrespectful way to handle a body in their eyes.
That's what they did in the Old West too. I mean, they hung
Well,
on a tree to.
Although they used to hang them on the trees, but no, this is you kill them first and then you hang them. You stone them and then you hang them up. You see in a lot of like medieval movies and stuff like that, they chop off the head and put it on a spike outside a city. That same kind of idea, only it's the whole body.
That's interesting, because if they touch a dead body, they're unclean.
They're unclean.
So they're going to be unclean.
Yeah, they're
hanging him on because he's already dead.
And there's times where they're willing to be unclean for 7 days. And,
because then they have to take his body down that same day and bury him. So
yeah. In their mind, having your body hang exposed was worse than death. And they felt that anyone who had their body hanged was cursed by God. Now, whose body is going to hang on a tree?
Jesus. You see how he was exposed to shame and took our curses.
Yeah. Paul talks about this in Galatians 3:13 and 14. Jesus not only died in our place, but he also took the place as the accursed of God, being hung on a tree in open shame and degradation. So, Jesus took the greatest shame in an Israelite's mind on himself, willingly. So, God doesn't want his people to be degraded like that. So he says, you do not leave them hanging like that. You take them down by the end of the day, which is another thing that happened with Jesus. They were very concerned about getting his body off that cross by the end of the day, because it was such a shameful thing. And Passover was coming and other things too, but we see how prophetic this verse is and what it meant in Jesus' life. So we are gonna stop there. I'm gonna shut off. Bye everybody online.